Good morning, Nick Collier here, and we're down to the final cut on this. I think we're about a thousandths over, and we want a slip fit for this bearing. So we're going to kind of slip it in here and see what we can come up with. It's a little loose right there, but as soon as it gets up to, yeah, got a nice tight fit coming in. There it is, almost. Come on. A little bit more. All right, we're going to get to about there with a slip fit. And I think what I want to do is just go ahead and file the surface down just a little bit and kind of give it a little bit more room. Let's mark this. Come on. There we go. All right, we're going to throw a file on it and see what we can come up with. And we'll be back in a minute. Okay, let's throw a file on this and see if we can come up with a little bit. Good, about right there, so a little bit more from there on out. There we go. Perfect fit. Nice and tight, and yet still slipping. All right, so now we have to figure out our widths, our exact widths, and then we're going to trim this down a little bit and cut a 2-inch threads, and I don't know what the threads are yet, but we're going to check that out. So I'll be back. Okay, so here's the nut we're going to play with. Oh, this one's got a bit of a mess up right there. No big deal. Alright, so now what we want to do is come up with our thread size, and I'm guessing we're looking at something right around here. That looks pretty good. Wow, that was a good guess. And let me get my my cheater glasses on, and we'll put this to the real test. And that is about as close as it can get. Yep, that looks pretty good. All right, so that's 8 threads per inch, and we're going to start out with a 2 inches and 100 15 thousandths. Let me write that down. Threads at 2 inches, 115. So that's the major diameter. And then the minor diameter we can work out later. Okay, and we are looking at 8 threads per inch. Okay. So now what we have to do is figure out how much bearing we have and how much threads we need. So go to that next step. We go back and measure our width, and I already have a measurement of 2 inches, 165 thousandths, but you know what, we're going to do that again, and just to make absolute sure. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, so we're set up. We've got our lines, our threads going to come in 1 inch and 200 thousandths, and then 1 inch and 200 thousandths from this side, and then we have 5 inches and 5¼ inches in the interior where the bearings go, and all of the sleeves and all of that stuff, plus the aluminum. So that's good. Now, basically, we're going to trim the thread part down to 2 inches exactly on both sides, and then we'll be ready to start threading. So, that said, let's get busy. Okay, so we've got our major diameters cut on both sides, and I also went in and cut a face on this one piece here. So now what I want to do is just kind of come in and cut that off so I can throw this on the bandsaw later and just take that off right at that line here, that line right there. So hey, one final little cut, and then we got to figure out all of the particulars for cutting threads. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, so we've got our major diameter cut, and then we also have our minor diameter cut in this little groove right here, and that's going to give us you know, we won't have to really watch what we're doing. This is the opposite side. We're going to do this side over here first, and let's just swing over there and see if we can see it. There it is right there. We're going to do this side first and do a test run. I think I'm going to position you up above so you can see what's going on. All right, I'll be back. We're set up. We're ready to go. I'm going to do a little strike across there and get ourselves a test line and check it out. I think we're pretty much ready to go. Hey, Nick Collier here, and I don't know how it is for you, but for me, I do bonehead moves on a regular basis, and I certainly did that yesterday with this piece here, and I was so bummed I just turned the camera off and tried to go in and fix it, and I fixed it. It blew me away. So what I did was I set my my compound at 30 degrees rather than 60 degrees. And I can't tell you how many times I've done that. But I kind of caught myself this time early enough. And I was resetting the threads. I set it. I reset the position. It took me, I don't know, an extra hour to mess around trying to get the position reset. Finally got that set and started cutting the threads. And then as it was cutting, it was like, it's not going to work, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. We got to the very last cut, the spring cut, and it cleaned up that far edge, and it made a perfect thread. So I'll bring you in close and show you what the thread looks like, and we can celebrate a mishap, a missed mishap. So, and I would have had to buy a new piece of metal and redo the whole thing. So now we're going to come in and do the other side. And this time we're not going to screw up with the 30 degree and 60 degree angle dealie. But we do have to flip our tool bit and spin the opposite direction, which is not that big a deal. The other thing about that is that we're not going to be able to test it because, of course, we're sitting on a... I'm wondering, I might be able to just cut this off, flip this thing around, and redo it. Well, we'll consider that. We'll come back in a little while, and I'm happy to have you back. Okay, so we are going to cut that plug off and come in from the other direction. It'll be so much easier. So we're about halfway through a cut right now, and we'll be back soon. Okay, so since this side's all set up, all we have to do is just cut the threads. So it's a done deal. But I'm going to keep an eye on things anyhow, because I have a tendency to, now we're going to go in and we're going to face this off, and this piece will be ready to go. this cable pull project. Now we've got two pieces of 12 by looks like about 18 3/4 inch plate, and we're cutting it off at 12 inches, and then later on we're going to come in and bore a hole through it and set the hole up so that the shaft can go through it, and we can set the bearings up and get everything all set. And at the same time, we'll tighten all the bolts onto the shaft, or onto the shaft, and get everything snugged up. And that way, we're going to know exactly where our housing is going to sit. And then we can build the backside for it and tap a bunch of bolts into it and continue the process. So stick with me, we're going to have some fun. Okay, so what I need to do now is I need to square up all of my edges, and I believe this thing will go the entire perimeter without having to reset anything up. But first, what I have to do is I have to come in and just eyeball some kind of squareness of the aluminum. And you know, we're not looking at anything super accurate right here, because I'm going to make it accurate by milling it. But just so we don't have to grind away at this thing forever to get it to square up. And I think that's going to do it right there. It looks pretty good. There we go. Tighten those up, and I think what I want to do is come in with a third toe clamp and clamp that, so when I get the machine over to this area, I can just loosen this clamp and I'll have a third one there hanging on to things. But yep, I'm in good shape. So let's just go ahead and do that. All right, so we need to adjust our head to rotate that way a little bit. This is gonna barely make it, but it will make it. Okay, we've gotten our square all squared up, and now what we need to do is come into the center here and punch a hole, and then drill that hole as big as possible, and then ream it out to the size of the, I believe the size of the shaft, which is this right here. So the shaft will go through the two plates and then through the bearings, and everything will kind of run smoothly. So we're going to find our center, and in reality it doesn't really matter where center is. I mean, it matters within, oh, 1/8 of an inch or so, but it's, you know, all of this doesn't really matter, because it's the only thing really is the key here is that the wheel sits in the center and it is able to spin, and we've already got that figured out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in with a scribe. Hey, let's get you over here so you can see it. Okay, so I'm going to come in with a scribe and just find my center, and it's pretty easy. I just kind of guess center, and then and I want to go a little bit bigger, something like about there, and then scribe a line, and then move over to another place and scribe another line, and then move over to another place and scribe another line, and we'll know that our center is right in that triangle of scribes. Now let's get ourselves a center punch. There we go. Hammer wouldn't be bad. Find our center. That looks pretty good. Whack that sucker. Okay, so what we need to do is disassemble this. So I want to bring the head of the mill back to square, and then we'll center it on the piece and work our way through that process. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so center punched it. Now I've come in with a little center finder, and we're just going to kind of come in pretty tight. I have to get my optivisors on because I can't see any longer. So we just bring it in to the center there and center there, and that looks pretty good. A little bit over. That's it. Okay, we're on. Take it down a little bit. And let's cut ourselves a hole. There we go. that's kind of a big cut. Let's take less of a cut. Yeah, that looks pretty good. We'll set our power feed in. Yep, everything's doing fine. Put another 10 on that. And let's build a stop for this. Oh, there's plenty of room. Okay, we're getting right down to it here. We probably got another 10 thousandths or so to go. Looks like 16 thousandths. Okay, so let's take this and turn it just a slight amount. So we're just going to kind of sneak our way into this one. There we go. Now we're sitting at 2 thousandths, so we're going to take this on up. There's 7, there's 12, and there's 15. So we're still 13 thousandths from being where we want to be. Let me take another bite at this. Just to make sure. And this says now we're sitting at 5. So we still have 10 more to do. And it looks like I took about 5 or so off in this last turn. So I'm going to just do that one more time. Take our time, just go and slow down into this. Okay, I think we're sitting right on the money. Yep. So let's test it first before we do anything. We're going to drop this cable down so we can get that thing in there. I don't know, can we get it that low? Let's swing you down a little further. And okay, there it goes. Perfect slide fit, which is exactly what we wanted.